Equality is not real, at least not in the way that people talk about, and it's also not achievable. People point to the wealth disparity or the gaps in income that people make and things of that nature to try and prove that there's some sort of societal inequality, when in reality it's proof of the exact opposite. Everybody has an equal opportunity, and that is the most equality that you can ever possibly hope for. And the fact that there are so many people who make such vastly different amounts of money and have such vastly different qualities of life and qualities of jobs and all of that whatnot is proof of that equality, not the opposite. If you take 100 people and you put them all at a starting line to run a race, somebody is going to win that race. Somebody's going to come in second, somebody's going to come in third, fourth, fifth, etc. Someone, or some people, several people, aren't even going to finish that race. Several people aren't even going to start the race to begin with. A whole bunch of them will start running and then stop because they realize it's too difficult. Some of them will have trained for the race. Some of them will have went out and got the appropriate and best type of shoes and gear and all of that whatnot. And some people won't even think twice about having to do that. Some people will eat properly before it and some will not. That is why there are going to be largely different outcomes in that race. Not because everyone isn't equal. Not because everyone didn't have an equal chance. They all did. Any one of them who started the race could have won the race, but most of them aren't willing to put in the work. That's why they're not even competing, and that is the exact same thing that you see nowadays in the world, at least in the Western world. I can't speak to like Bangladesh or something like that someone will want to point out and say, well, what about here? They don't have the same opportunity. I'm not talking about that. And people having different opportunities and chances to do stuff in foreign places is not relevant to you or your life, and the fact that you think it is the reason that you are never going to get ahead. But that as a whole is a largely different point. Here in the Western world, everybody has the same opportunity to succeed. It does not matter where it is that you start. Do some people start closer to the finish line? Sure. Do some people start in better positions? Do some people have people who are willing to help them more? Yes. Are some people better prepared for it at the beginning? Yes, 1000%. Do some people start well below or behind the actual starting line? That is also true as well. But it's also not relevant, because regardless of where it is that you start, you have the opportunity to run. Regardless of whether or not you were set up to run from the very beginning, you still have the opportunity to run. Every single person does. But most people do not take the chance or the opportunity to start running to begin with. Most people don't train for that run. Most people will sit there and say, well, these other people started off in a much better position than me, like that's of relevance. It is not. Regardless of where anyone else is, you are where you are. And if you work hard enough, you can get to where those other people are, you can get to where they started, and you can get much past that, whether they do anything with it or not. Someone else succeeding is not the reason that you are failing. You are failing because you are not doing what it takes to succeed. Did some people have handouts? Maybe. Do some people have inheritances and whatnot like that from their parents? Yes, they do. But does that have anything at all to do with you? No, it doesn't. You have the exact same opportunity that everyone else does. There are people who come from nothing, who build corporations that change the entire world in the course of humanity as we know it. Not because they were given handouts, not because they have some special characteristics or traits that they were blessed with that no one else has, but because they recognize that if they did the work, they could accomplish what it is that they set out to do. And you can do the same thing as well if you stop worrying about where it is that other people are. All of this equality that everyone sits there fighting for is not achievable. Some people are always going to be doing better than other people. Some people are always going to be farther ahead. Some people are always going to have more. That is just life. That is just how things work. But what other people have has absolutely no bearing on what it is that you can get. You can do the exact same things and get the exact same things, or you can at the very least max out your own personal character traits and attributes in regards to the amount of work that you are willing to put in. You can have whatever it is that you'd like, just like everyone else can have whatever it is that they like. But no one is going to give it to you. And people point to the fact that they are not given things as some sort of proof of the unfairness of the world. But it is not. Some people work in companies and make much more money than other people because they did what it takes to start the company. That is why CEOs make far more than the employees. But people want to complain about, well, the employees are making 100 times less than the CEO. That's life. They chose to work and accept that position. That is where it is that they have put themselves. But they could put themselves somewhere else. But no one else is going to do that for them. And that is not because the world is oppressing you or holding you down or anything like that. It is because you are not building yourself up. This whole equality thing is once again a myth. Everyone cannot be the same no matter what. People are going to have different attributes, different character traits, different work ethics, and that is what it is that's responsible for people being on different playing fields. None of this other shit. It is not achievable in the way that people think, and they sit around demanding it like it's even possible. Even if you take all of the money that's in the world and you divide it up equally amongst the population, the people who have more now are going to have more then, and the people who have less now are going to have less then, because what you have is a result of who you are. And the reason that you don't have any money, the reason that you don't have more money, the reason that you don't have more success is because you've not made yourself into the type of person who can have the success that you claim to want. And the people who have the money that you claim to want, the people who have the success that you claim to want, the people who live the lives that you claim to want, or drive the cars, or live in the houses, or have the bodies, or get the girls, or whatever it is that you claim to want, have made themselves into the type of person who can have those things, and you have not, despite some sort of mystical, magical distribution of assets and wealth and all of that amongst the population. That will not change that fact. You will wind up right back in the position where your character qualifies you to be, just like the other people will wind up in the position where their character qualifies them to be. Fighting for equality in that sense, in any sense other than equality of opportunity, is a completely losing battle, and it is a victim mentality, and it is one also of entitlement, that you think that you should have more because other people have more, but they have more than you because they did more than you, regardless of what it is that more looks like. Yes, it is harder to, like, physically harder to work 8 hours a day cooking burgers over the grill at McDonald's, or changing oil at Jiffy Lube, if that's still a thing, than it is to run a company, again, in the physical sense. But that type of work is not as valuable as the work that people are doing to build all of these companies, which is why they have more than you do. What they're doing is worth more than what it is that you're doing. And the reason that they are able to do something that's worth more than what it is that you're doing is because they have made themselves into someone who is capable of doing something worth more. They have made themselves into someone who can provide more value, therefore making them more valuable. That's just life. This equity stuff that people talk about is even more nonsense. The idea that everyone should have a piece of the pie, and people of all different backgrounds and all of that whatnot, is also an unachievable and unrealistic thing, because in order for that to happen, some people who do less are going to have to be given more just to even things out. They are going to have to be given more than they are worth. They are going to have to be put into positions that they are not qualified for or did not earn, just so you can have this stupid little variety and everyone can have a piece of whatever. But that is not how things work. At least, again, in the Western world. It is a meritocracy, regardless of how it is that you would like to feel about it and what it is that you would like to convince yourself of. Everyone is exactly where they deserve to be, based on who they have made themselves into and based on the work that they have done. If you deserved more, you would have more, but you don't. That's why you don't have it. But with this whole entire equity thing, I saw it was a meme with the picture was equality, which was it was three people standing over a fence watching a baseball game. Each one of them had a box, and they were all different heights. One of them was really tall, one of them was moderately tall, one of them was really short. I mean, I assume it was a kid, a teenager, an adult, but whatever. And they were all standing on one box. One could easily see over the fence plus some, one could barely see over the fence, and the other one couldn't see over the fence at all, and over it said equality. Then it had the same exact group of people in the next picture. The tallest one had no box, the next tallest one had one box, and the shortest one had two boxes, so they can all see the game equally. And above that it said equity. And I know that sounds lovely to everybody, but in reality it's an impractical concept, because that means some people are going to have to earn more and receive less, so that the people who earn less can receive more. Some people are going to need larger amounts of money than others to be able to live the same quality of life, whether they earn that money or not. So what that would require is people working for these large sums of money just to have the majority of it taken away and given to people who are less deserving of it and less qualified to have it. That is a nonsensical concept, and it is one that only makes sense and sounds appealing in the minds of victims and lazy people who don't want to do what it takes to earn their spot. People have different advantages than others, but you have to learn how to make that work for you. You have to become as strong as you possibly can in all of the areas that you could possibly become strong in, so that you can have the most that you can get. In the world, you have to do for yourself. That is how the universe works. It will give you what it is that you earned. And even if they were to set up the world in such a way that things were distributed in a way that people felt was equitable, it would still wind up just the same way that it did in the equality sense, where there's certain people would wind up back having more and certain people would wind up back having less, because at the end of the day it all comes down to who it is that you are. If you want a better life, you have to make yourself into a better person. If you want to earn more, you have to make yourself more valuable. That is the way of the world, and that is exactly how it is that it should work. People should not just be equal, and despite the tales that everyone likes to tell themselves, everyone is not equal. There are some people who go out and change the world, and there are some people who spend their entire day getting drunk and watching illicit films on the internet. Those people are not of the same value. Those people are not of the same worth. There are some people who eat food all day and wind up 600 pounds and can't even get out of bed on their own. And there are some people who put in all of the work to get in the best physical shape possible. Those people are not equal. They are not all equal when it comes down to it. That is a nonsensical concept that's designed to make losers feel good about being losers. And I know people like to say we're all equal in God's eyes. No, absolutely that is not true. If you had 10 children and you gave them all the opportunity to do whatever it is that they wanted, and some made the most of it and conquered the world and became kings, you would be much more fond of them than the ones who spent all of their time playing video games and getting high and slacking off and asking for handouts and making excuses as to why it is that they weren't trying. You, like your child, people with children, maybe you claim to love them the same, but in reality you favor the one who made something of their life over the one who always crashes cars and is getting arrested for DUIs and a bunch of other nonsensical things. So again, There is absolutely no such thing as equality. Some people have more than others, and they should. Some people are worth more than others, and they should be. Some people are inferior, some people are superior, but that is not an inherent thing. That is a result of the choices that you make. The people who make superior choices are superior people. The only people who will disagree with that are the inferior. They are the only ones who will try and convince you that there is no such thing as inferiority so they can feel better about their own inferiority. Don't be one of those people. You can be better if you do what it takes to be better. So stop doing worse and trying to convince yourself that it's all the same. It's not. You don't deserve more. You're not equal to everyone else if you don't sit there and do what it is that you should be doing day in and day out.